Ready? Hello, good afternoon, and welcome. My name is Trevor Simpson, and I'm the head of the Mathematics and Engineering Department here at Northern Caribbean University. We're pleased and ecstatic to have you here at the Space Advocates Hackathon and the afternoon session. We have some esteemed visitors here. To my left on the platform is Dr. Claire Nelson from Morgan State University in Washington, D.C., United States. Dr. Nelson has been a keen advocate and supporter of our university, and we welcome her again as she comes down here from America and assists us in this hackathon space advocacy meeting. Next to her is our own Jodianne Walker, electrical engineering student in the department. And sitting beside her is Claire Adlington, an advocate of something that I have a passion for, and that is women in engineering. I'm totally excited when I see women go forward for engineering, because it means that we may actually get things done. Next to Ms. Adlington is Dominique Campbell, who is a University of West Indies research assistant, and she's also a woman in engineering, a woman in physics. And the reason why I'm excited to have you here is because with all persons on board, we could do marvelous things. We have also here, we have our VP for Student Services, Mrs. Carol Marie Smith, and many other esteemed guests, too many to mention. But I want to thank you for turning up, and we hope that this afternoon, just like this morning, will be a pleasing and refreshing look into the future and look into space. Thank you, and God bless.
It's now time for our song service. We're going to start with our first song, hymn number 109, Marvelous Grace.
Marvelous grace of our loving Lord, grace that exceeds our sin and our guilt, yonder on Calvary's mount outpoured, there where the blood of the Lamb was spilled. Grace, grace, God's grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace, grace, God's grace, grace that is greater than all our sin. Sin and despair like the sea waves cold threaten the soul with infinite loss. Grace that is greater, yes, grace untold, points to the refuge, the mighty cross. Grace, grace, God's grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace, grace, God's grace, grace that is greater than all our sin. Marvelous, infinite, matchless grace, freely bestowed on all who believe. You that are longing to see His face, will you this moment His grace receive? Grace, grace, God's grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace, grace, God's grace, grace that is greater than all our sin.
Amen. Our next song will be hymn number 251, He Lives.
I serve a risen Savior, He's in the world today. I know that He is living. time I need him, he's always there. He lives, Christ Jesus lives today. He walks with me and he talks with me along life's narrow way. He lives, salvation to impart. You ask me how I know he lives. He lives within my heart. In all the world around me, I see his loving care. And though my heart grows weary, I never will despair. I know that he is leading through all the stormy blast. The day of his appearing will come at last. He lives, Christ Jesus lives today. He walks with me and he talks with me along life's narrow way. He lives, salvation to impart. You ask me how I know he lives. He lives within my heart. Rejoice, rejoice, O Christian, lift up your voice and sing eternal hallelujahs to Jesus Christ the King, the hope of all who seek him, the help of all who find. None other is so loving, so good and kind. He lives, Christ Jesus lives today. He walks with me and he talks with me along life's narrow way. He lives, salvation to impart. You ask me how I know he lives. He lives within my heart.
Thank you, thank you. Give it up for praise and worship team. I am Reverend Dr. Claire Nelson. I am an ordained minister at the Tacoma Metaphysical Chapel in Maryland, where I worship, and I am so delighted to be here to share in this very special assembly on this August day, which for me is the first ever public outing of the Caribbean Space Advocates Club here at Northern Caribbean University. Give thanks. I say give thanks because it has been my joy to practice my passion for global evolutionary change through working with others to make change happen. And so I'm grateful for the team at Northern Caribbean who heard my voice so many years ago and decided to take the brave plunge of being the first in this experiment of ensuring that we of the Caribbean family are at the table as humanity makes this grand exploration into becoming a spacefaring society. For those of us who grew up with the Star Trek generation, you know of which I speak. Some of us grew up with the Star Wars generation, and that's another whole story. Yoda says, do or do not try. And so we're here to do. For those of you who are more the modern age and are of the Avatar generation with the blue-skinned people, I know that here big dreams can happen. After all, this is a church, this is a school rather, that's built on the principles of faith. And I'm often asked, why do I do what I do? And I want to repeat a very important pledge that I learned as a child. Before God and all mankind, I pledge the love and loyalty of my heart, the wisdom and courage of my mind, the strength and vigor of my body, in the service of my fellow citizens. I promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood, and peace, to work diligently and creatively, to think generously and honestly, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. As we think about Vision 2030, and as we think about where we want to go, I believe it's incumbent of those of us who know to help push Jamaica forward into taking up a seat at the table of the United Nations, where conversations are being held every day about how humanity will go forward as a space-exploring civilization. And today's event, which you're going to hear more about later, is certainly an opportunity for students and faculty and staff of this institution to help us at NCU move Jamaica forward. I'm also grateful that one of my mentees will address you later, Dominique Campbell. She is a physicist in the making, an astrophysicist in the making, and she certainly will hope, I believe, be one of those to discover a new comet. With that said, I want to say thank you again for this opportunity. I want to let you know that I want to give out some cards with my SMART framework thinking, which I'm pushing on the students here, and say, as we think about the future we want, recognize that here at NCU, you have a choice to really grow into becoming who you are meant to be, to begin to find your purpose and to walk in that faith and in that place of being. And so, as I like to say to people, I am here using the power that God gave me. My book and my work is indeed a part of the work I do for my mother, who taught me to believe in myself, and also in the power of God, who taught me to use even those around me who may often see me as less than I am. So I am as God made me. I am a conjurer of change, a global futurist, a Jamaican, a daughter of Nani. Hineni, as they say in the Jewish faith. Here I am, use me, give thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. The scripture reading will be taken from Psalms 8, verses 3 and 4. And it reads thus, "When I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained, what is man, that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man, that thou visitest him?" Here ended a portion of God's holy word. We honor it by saying, thanks be to God.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let us stand for prayer. Let us pray. Our most righteous and eternal Father, I'd like to thank you for allowing us all to be here this afternoon. I pray that we may all learn something, and that whatever we learn, we may not keep it to ourselves, but we may share it with others, hasten the footsteps of those who are on their way, and help us to have a good rest of the day. In your name I pray. Amen.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wadero Roll, and I'm the president for the International Students Association.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lanier Richardson. I am the Vice President of Finance and Planning for the International Students Association Club. Now, our club presents to you International Diversity Week, a vibrant celebratory week of cultures, traditions, and diversity that enriches and fosters a sense of community here at Northern Caribbean University.
You can join us on April 8th through the 13th for our week filled with opportunities for learning and connection and shared celebrations.
From vibrant flag parades to captivating cultural showcases, there's an array of attractions for everyone to enjoy and appreciate.
Prizes to be won, games to be played, and so much more.
Let's come together to celebrate our differences and embrace the power of unity in diversity. Thank you.
We have come to the part of our program where we'll be having our special presentations, and yes, it's pluralized because we will be having 2 presenters for our assembly this afternoon. Our first presenter is Dominique Campbell, and she is an astronomy and space enthusiast. She has a Bachelor's of Science in Physics from the University of the West Indies. She started her journey in undergrad by being an active member of the Astronomical Association of Jamaica, which opened up the opportunity to serve as the national point of contact for Jamaica under the Space Generation Advisory Council, or SGAC for short. She is now the PR and Communications Manager for the NCAC region under the same Advisory Council, and is the Jamaica chapter representative of the Caribbean Space Society. Before Ms. Campbell comes and presents for us, we'll have a special musical item by Tiandre Brown.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I am very happy to be here this evening. It's my 2nd or 3rd time being at NTU, and I'm happy that you all turned out to this Knowledge Fair and Hackathon workshop put on by the Space Advocates Club and Tora. Big up yourself, Tora, wherever you are. Can't see you, but yeah. Okay, oh, thank God. Okay, so my presentation right now is, can I move this? Oh, don't move it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so for today, I would like to present to, well, I had made this presentation for students, but I feel like it can apply to anybody that has a passion and a genuine interest for anything relating to space. So today, let me take you on an adventure into the exposure of the world of space. So can you go to the next slide, please? I don't have the clicker, so. Okay, no, first slide, thanks, this slide. So, space is vast, and so is the industry, right? So, when you think about space, everybody has their own unique opinion, as well as their own unique perception of what the area might look like. For most of us growing up, as Dr. Nelson first referenced Star Trek, Star Wars, most of us were introduced to space as space just being for space exploration. Nobody thought, I can make a clothing textile company and get into space. No one thought, I can just have a business on communication, and all of that is tied to space. So when you're coming into the space sector or even into the space industry, I'd want you to think, as a young, fresh face, sorry, I don't want to read from my slides, but as somebody that's young or old and you're coming into the space industry, I want you to understand what the space sector actually is, right? And then I want you to visualize the product or the talent that you have, and then think, how can I influence space? Because it's one of the industries where you can actually create your own space within the space sector. Okay, so can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so this is like a broad ecosystem of the different areas that generally people will recognize and identify in the space sector. So you know that usually space is big on exploration and science, so you're going to have your science-based people, you're going to have your engineers, your data analysts, and you have communication, because to order pizza from Pizza Hut, you need the satellite so they can find your location, or else you're going to be hungry. You know that you have people doing space for research, you have the billionaires doing space for commercial, and they're partnering to help out smaller people go into their research and actually help them along with their research. You have ground stations, manufacturing, and the thing is, nobody actually thought that they needed a ballpoint pen until they decided that, hey, we're going to space. So let me just give a little anecdotal story. So it's a space race, and Russia is planning on going to space. America is planning on going to space. And there's a problem. They've never been to, they've been testing out the waters, but they decided that they wanted their astronauts to be able to write and take down data and information, right? So what they did was to say, hey, I need to come up with some technology that I can be able to write in space. So NASA was one of the engineers and the manufacturers of the ballpoint pen. So the Americans said, okay, we made the ballpoint pen, so now we can write and take and record data in space. And the Russians were like, we'll just use a pencil, duh. So space is, so what I'm trying to say with that story is, it's supposed to be an area that you apply what you want to. You have that creative leeway and leverage to make space a space for yourself and your ideas. It doesn't have to be, I have to follow this exact line of code or this exact path. And well, the rest, you have education, and I like that, you guys came out here and you decided to have the knowledge fair that you're having today. That's another part of going into the space industry, because people actually have lucrative jobs, well, not lucrative jobs, but lucrative companies that they go out, and space education is all they do. So they go to different schools and they get paid just to pass on knowledge. And you have the innovation and entrepreneurship, as I was saying before, accelerators and incubators. Now, incubators, they are for the people. It kind of ties into innovation and entrepreneurship, because these are the people that they want to incubate your idea and your small business, there's a word for it, there's a term for it, it's not coming to my brain right now. But when you just start it, you have it in the pipeline, they have mentors in the field, and they kind of incubate you and help you to grow so that you can actually develop the business. And you have the commercial integration, where sometimes it's half research, as well as, we're on the right slide now. So, all right, so let me get into the branches of space. Now, as I said, space is vast, and there are many different areas, but for now, let's just focus on 3 main areas. I don't want to spit too much information at you. So, the main branches of space really started, if you know the history of space exploration really started because the military had missiles, and they were always testing the limits. So it started with military defense as well as research and space exploration. And now the commercial side is just something that's kind of new. It's probably in the pipeline from years before, but it's now becoming a viable thing, even for just regular layman people. Like the person that Dr. Nelson was interviewing, she interviewed from Antigua, the lady that was the first Caribbean person in space. So, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so so as I was saying, it's really so space kind of covers those 3 fields. There's other fields. So when you're looking to go into space, you're going to think of what actually drew you to the space industry. So it had to be something somebody said, something you saw, something that caught your interest. And usually we can put these under topics. Now, these are just a handful of topics that I've seen that I think had at least caught my eye, because, as I said, when you come into an area for the first time, you have your own perceptions of what that can look like. And when you see other topics, like new topics, you're like, I never know that this existed. I never thought you can put those 2 together. So looking at the topics right here, you have astronomy and astrophysics, which is something I'm deeply passionate about. You have space medicine and human flight. The more people are interested in exploring space, the more you actually have to monitor the reaction of our bodies and the health of our bodies. So that is something that the layman, you probably wouldn't think about it, but it's a viable option and career. You have planetary science, if you're very interested into the scientific workings of Earth and how it came to be. You have space communication and navigation, which is all about satellites and communication and communicating and relaying data back and forth between the Earth and the satellites. You have space technology and engineering, if you're very hands-on and you love new ideas and concepts. And you have astrobiology. You can be an astrochemist, and astro usually refers to stars. So it's stars, study of the stars in like biological areas, and you can piece the pieces of a puzzle together. You also have space policy and ethics. Now, when I came to the SJC, I didn't even know that space had law and policy. I would never think why you need law and policies for space. But again, we're humans. And usually, I think something works like this. So I think, all right, I can do this and get away with it. And somebody else might have a disagreement. So how do you prevent certain disagreements down the road? You need to have a policy framework, and you have to have certain codes of ethics to say that if we're going to explore the moon, this is where we need to, based on our own ethics and our own understanding, these are the things that can be permitted, these are the things that can't be permitted. And you have challenges for future directions. Dr. Nelson is a futurist, so she could tell you more about that, but it's really planning your next step forward into the industry, as well as how the industry would grow. You have space, weather, and environment. Everybody's big on climate change these days, and it's actually paying, so that's one industry. And then as I kept talking about the commercialization of the space industry. All right, why does slide look so? All right, can we go to the next slide? Okay, so these are a few careers in space that are tied to those different topics in space. So whether you want to be a software developer, whether you want to be a project manager, a data analyst, a robotics person, I know that most of these look scientific, but trust me, you can be a designer for spacesuits. I met somebody last year that had no clue what they wanted to do. They basically were just designing clothes, and they got a contract at, I think, NASA for designing spacesuits. I would have never put that you need somebody to think of the clothes that the astronauts need to wear into space, but it's a viable option. So don't limit yourself, guys. If you really are interested in space or anything space-related, never ever limit your options. You have biologists, as I said, architects, business developers, aerospace engineers, but it's not just for the science. Space is not just for the sciences. It needs everybody because it's it's an interdisciplinary field. All right, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so if you're deeply passionate, you'll say, all right, I probably want to link with an organization. I probably want to link with just a program that I can further my knowledge and build myself. So you're going to look online. Now, some of these programs, they are expensive. They happen over the summer. But they are enrichment programs because they also have people, experts in the field, as well as newcomers like yourself that are in various fields, and you all get together, and it's usually done in different countries. So like last year, I think they went to Brazil for the Space Studies program, and it's usually for 9 weeks. They pay, well, when you pay the money, they put it, the whole money covers the education part, the hotel fee, food for the whole 3 square meals. And, you know, so they try to make you comfortable. The money is kind of pricey, but they try to make you comfortable while giving you inside expertise advice. So that right there allows you to better network with people, and then you have a project or they have a project, and then you get onto the project, and you know, you build your network, and from building your network you branch off either with them or doing your own thing. The other thing is, for students, always enter NASA. NASA usually has a bunch of competitions, and they're usually open. They're not usually, even though it's an American company, they tend to have, like the NASA Space Apps Challenge is usually open to international students. Once you're interested, it gives you a good start, and it's a recognizable name. So when you write that, you know, you're set. All right, so the Moon Village Association and the Space Generation Advisory Council, these are some organizations that give young people a chance to be at the forefront, to express their leadership skills, as well as network and run the space sector how they see fit. So I can talk for the Space Generation Advisory Council because I was the former national point of contact. And what that allowed me to do is basically they allowed you to do any event or any type of thing that you wanted to do on the space, it doesn't matter. And you just had to have their branding on your event. No, you can do that for yourself, it doesn't matter. But going through an organization that is already established always leads to benefits because the contacts, they can help you along the way, especially if you don't know anything. So the last point that I want to talk about is activities for schools, colleges, anybody to implement, really. So the first point is integrating space-related topics into science, engineering, and math courses. Usually, how our curriculum is set up, there's barely any space or barely any astronomy into the curriculum. It's usually the curriculum is just usually, you know, like biology, chemistry, physics. They don't really go into the niche areas. So the more you teach us, the universities, the more they try to integrate newer, they're not really new, but viable options that are not necessarily, they're not necessarily the common, they're not necessarily commonplace out here. It gives you an idea to spread your wings broader. So integrating space-related topics into science, that's one of the ways you can get people from the ground up into a budding industry. The other way is offer space clubs. So as I said, big up NCU space advocates, because you guys, you're actually already doing the work, so you're halfway there. The other thing is you can invite professionals. Inviting professionals in the industry, they can give you advice. They're usually friendly, I can't speak for everybody, but they're usually friendly and they usually want to see it grow, even if it's not for themselves. The fourth advice is allow hands-on projects. Anything that you feel you could do it as a project. Even if it don't feel like it makes sense, talk to your advisors and do it as a project. And the last part is participate in space-related competitions. If you scour the internet, you always have whether essays, engineering competitions, whether or not it's a little competition that doesn't really give you a monetary prize, or even if there is a monetary prize, enter the competition because you actually really do learn from these competitions. And then partner with local or international universities. Well, this is for like colleges right now. When you partner with them, they have the expertise, but sometimes they need the people, and sometimes it's vice versa. So it really helps build those relationships, and then you can actually start something for yourselves here based on the knowledge. And that is the end of my presentation. I thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Ms. Campbell. And now we will move on to our next guest speaker, Mrs. Christine Adlery. With over 2 decades of experience in information technology, Mrs. Adlery brings a wealth of expertise to today's event. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Information Technology with a major in Management Studies and is a certified Information Privacy Manager. She's currently pursuing a master's degree in enterprise security as she's committed to continuous learning. Throughout her career, she has held key positions such as Senior Business Analyst, Database Manager, and Shared Services Director. Currently serving as a Data Governance Officer, Mrs. Adlery focuses on data governance, data quality, privacy, risk management, and process management. Additionally, she has been an active member of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEEE for short, for over 3 years, holding roles such as the IEEE Jamaica Section Secretary and the Chair of Women in Engineering. Let us give her a warm welcome.
Hi, everybody. Okay. Hello, everyone. Don't pay attention to those things that they say. Just a little thing, you know? Okay. Thank you for inviting me to your event. It's a very timely one at that. I mean, innovation. When we talk about innovation, it is, you know, it is something that we need to look for. So you guys are surfing waves for satellite innovation, and we need a lot of innovation in Jamaica today. Would you agree? Would you agree? Yes. Excellent. Now, I'm not a lecturer. I'm not here to give lectures. What I'm going to do, though, is to have a presentation, and this presentation will demonstrate some of what would have been achieved through satellite, space, and AI. Actually, we use AI every day. Who uses Alexa every morning? Anybody in here? Nobody? Who uses Siri?
Nobody? That can be. Who have a cell phone? Everybody who have a cell phone, please to hold up your hand. Everybody. All right. So, did you know that you are actually using the technology of which you're speaking about right now? You're using AI, you're using satellite, and you're actually using space. So, let's look at it. Should I? Thank you. So what we're going to look at today is some uses of space technology, uses of satellite technology, using AI to do business, and using the space, satellite, and air technologies to make life easier. Basically, that is what these three platforms enable, making life easier. But guess what? It is already a part of our daily lives, but we don't even know it. We would have started using it. We would have already embraced it. So when you actually think about innovation, in my mind, I'm of the view that persons coming out of colleges should not just go seek a job, but in other words, use what is already available to create new jobs. Using space technology. So we would have just spoken about space travel. It has given us a wealth of knowledge, which in turn has helped us to create innovations and technologies that have made human life easier. Innovation for space has been embedded within our daily lives without us knowing it. Our phones. Like myself, there are persons in here who wear spectacles. These spectacles that we have on also include a coating. This specific coating was actually used some time ago by astronauts when they needed to go to the moon. So it enables us to have what you call those scratch-free. So you see when you go to the optician and they say they want to apply the scratch-free for you to pay for it, that's a part of space technology. The camera in your phone, you would have seen me taking pictures. But those cameras, they were actually created because of space technology. So what happened now, its use has gone worldwide, so you can go anywhere. So instead of just buying those big cameras that are expensive, you can use your phone. Those little, hold up the phone, look at the back, you see the camera. That is actually space technology. There it is. So, like how we're talking about this, before I move to the next slide, who can think of something else that was space technology that came out of it? If you do, there's a little bit of token that you can get. Television. What else? My leg was broken, so I have to take my time. Micro. Yes, what else? Telescope. Well, there's one. This is what we used to look up in the sky. So the drive-through. Dry food, yeah, frozen food, right? Those are some. So 1, 2, 3. Well, not really telescope, but you still get a pen. Okay. Notwithstanding that. But do you know you hear they talk about memory foams. that you sleep on. Now, this memory foam that you sleep on is also from space technology. The shoe that you have there from Nike, they utilize it, right? They utilize space technology so that you can have that comfort. So when you hear about shoes that have shock absorption, that is out of space technology. When it is, you hear also about, you see those phones, you buy those earphones, cordless earphones. They were given to astronauts so that, normally you'd have the cord, but they needed. But this is also using not just space technology, it also utilizes satellite. Did you know that baby formula also came out of space technology? So down to the children we have is using it. Smoke detectors. How much of us have those cordless mouse now? So you see that it is already embedded in us. And of course, here's mine. Can't go anywhere without it. Now, satellite technology, let's look at that. A satellite technology is a self-contained communication system with the ability to receive signals from Earth and to retransmit those signals back with the use of transponders. One of the most significant trends in satellite technology is the miniaturization of satellites. Now, these satellites, what they do, they're very compact, they're cost-effective, and they are open to universities such as yourself, startup businesses, and even large organizations in space exploration and data collection. So when you use them, when you talk about the Earth atmospheric studies, those type of satellite, when you look at, they talk about geological studies, weather detection, ground positioning system that is used by Google. These are things that they're doing. Even in Jamaica today, they're using some of these technologies for farmers. But there are other technologies that, for the purpose of innovation, we can leverage them to create business. It's just that you just need to think about how to do it. But I'll demonstrate or maybe show some of the ideas that I think can be leveraged. The video, ready? Go ahead.
Among the hundreds of satellites circling Earth are those that relay phone conversations, radio and television broadcasts around the globe. Most of these communication satellites are in what is called the geostationary orbit, 35,786 kilometers directly above the equator. This means that they complete an orbit in exactly 1 day, and so always stay in the same position relative to the planet as it turns. The advantage is that antennas on the ground do not have to move to track a satellite. But it also means that this part of space becomes crowded. And because satellites must be kept a certain distance apart to avoid radio interference, only a limited number of orbital slots is available. To solve this challenge, ITU is where positions for satellites are allocated, and the use of particular radio frequencies is determined. Satellite communication systems consist of a ground station that sends signals by high-powered, high-frequency radio. The satellite receiving the signals transmits them back to other ground stations that are within its footprint. The geostationary orbit is sometimes known as the Clarke Belt, after the British writer Arthur C. Clarke. In 1945, he proposed using the orbit for global communications, building on the ideas of earlier scientists. Orbits that are not geostationary are also used for communications. They involve constellations of satellites circling closer to Earth. More satellites are needed, but each is less expensive and relays signals more quickly.
Artificial intelligence. Now, this is the theory and development of computer systems able to perform normal tasks. They can be employed to do many repeating tasks, right? Such as visualized perception, speech recognition, decision making, and translation between languages. So if it is you don't know French or you don't know Mandarin, you can actually have an app on your phone and travel over to China and use the app to assist you. Now, artificial intelligence, you have different areas. You have predictive analysis, deep learning, right? And out of that is machine learning. You have text-speech and speech-to-text. You have image recognition and machine vision, classification, translation, data extraction, expert system planning, optimization, and robotics. Robotics, which is now a trend. Mind you, with artificial intelligence, there are what you call privacy concerns around those, but notwithstanding, you can build security mechanisms within it to protect personal data. So, artificial intelligence have many uses. You have general AI, you have natural processing, you have machine perceptions, robotics, social intelligence. Now, for general AI, these typically learn from the world around you, right? And apply data in a cross-domain way. So, DeepMind, as you can see, there's no owned by Google. And what they would have done is use neural networks to learn how to play game. You also have artificial intelligence in robots, where they're actually teaching them now how to play football. So maybe you won't need a football team, right? You have neural network processing. So with this, it enables machines to read, understand, and interpret human language, right? It's used for statistical methods and semantic programming to understand grammar and syntax, and in some cases, emotions of the writer or those interacting with systems like chatbot. And when it comes on to natural language processing, even those can be leveraged in the universities, whereby you can have your different tests being done and have the machine assess it. But of course, you would have to you still have to put a lot of work in it to get it to move, but it can be done. You can also leverage it to mark papers. After it marks the papers, it does its assessment and send it to the teacher. So therefore, what you'll have as well is freeing up the lecturer's time to be able to provide guidance to the student, right? Meet their different plans that they have to meet, the lesson plans that they have to do, right? It's just how you apply the solution. Machine perception. So this look at cameras, microphones, accelerator meters, GPS, radar, and more. So they use computer vision used for facial and object recognition. Robotics devices are widely used in factories, hospitals, and other settings. Right? Now we have drones that can also help to do policing. And we have social intelligence, autonomous vehicles. Of course, on your phone you have Siri, you have Alexa. Right? You find that sometimes when humans are now lonely, they can speak to their phone, and guess what? The phone responds. So if they say hello, Alexa say hello. Do you think they are lonely again? They don't need anybody, not true? They don't. False? All right, go ahead. Now, let us look how we do use AI to do business. So let us say you're coming out of school, you need a job, you can't get a job. What can you do? You learn about AI. How long does it take you to write a website? Maybe a month? 2 months? You can actually use AI to do it for you. That's being innovative. So guess what? Having AI write websites for you, as long as you have all the various contracts in place, the domains, you pay for your domains and all those things, guess what happened? You can churn out, literally churn out, maybe 5, 6, 7, 10, depending on the amount of customers you have, within a week, within a day. Because guess what? You have artificial intelligence doing it for you. The only thing is, now you need to customize it to what your customer wants. Go ahead. No.
Why did the web developer go broke? Because he asked AI to build websites for him, making himself redundant. So in this video, I want to find out if without writing code, can AI build a website for me? And I'm not going to use any tricks. There's already hundreds of videos on how to use ChatGPT to write code, but I don't want to see any type of code at all, especially not generated from OpenAI. I'm going to pretend I'm a mouse and I can only point and click. Let me slow this down and let's begin. On average, the time to build a website usually takes between 150 to 500 hours. However, I only want to spend 1 day, and once you take out eating and sleeping, I've got about 4 to 8 hours of productivity in me. I'll use AI power to make this possible, using 10Web, today's sponsor. My goal is to create a landing page for a course and book I'm putting together on AI. After logging in, I selected to create a new website. I'm going to call it Teach Me AI. On the dashboard, there was an AI builder. I selected to generate with AI and pick my business type. I explained that it's a book about AI as well as a video course to use ChatGPT and OpenAI. So far, so good. This is actually kind of how you would normally explain a project to a marketing company or a web developer, but in this case, you're doing so to an AI. Next, I put in my 3 features, which is a ebook in PDF format, as well as a video guide, and finally all the code and my templates that I've built to this date, such as my Discord integration, my OpenAI template, and my ChatGPT widget. Finally, I selected an informal tone and content, and it's done. So far, this has only taken me 10 minutes, but I've got the layout for a website ready to go. On top of that, all the other pages have been made and linked together as well. This includes the home page, which I want to customize, as well as the services page, which I kind of want to add a pricing table as well as 3 main options. And finally, the About Us page and the contact page, which I kind of want to convert into an early sign-up page. Not too bad. If I was doing this myself, I would definitely have some bugs and it would take me a lot longer to get to this point. What I want to do now is customize it without writing code and see what else AI has done in terms of generating this page. Then I'm going to publish it and share it out to social media, seeing how well it did. I opened up the homepage, and while the text was useful, I wanted to write something a little bit more specific to the course I'm making. Then I jumped into the back end of the website, which I found is on WordPress. I installed a plugin called MailChimp so that I can collect some email addresses for people interested in purchasing this course. What I liked was that there were different sections made for me. I deleted some that I didn't like and customized other ones that I did, such as adding in, for example, my team here, which is myself as well as George, who are writing this course and putting it together. Hopefully I can publish it in quite a few different places, such as on Gumroad, on daily.dev, on FeedHive, and many more. These are some of my favorite websites to visit as well. To finish up, I put in some more statistics about what you actually get as part of the course, as well as some early previews and screenshots of it. And here's the end result. Teach Me AI. And I'm going to let you in on a bit of a secret. And that is that having a website that's published and online is always better than one that you're trying to make perfect but never quite finish. And so I think in that regard, using AI to build a website and then customize customize it later on definitely has its benefits. 10Web have done a pretty good job at implementing the AI assistant into both their website and even directly into WordPress, where you can use it to generate blog ideas, write paragraphs, and rephrase them as well. And if you want to actually check out the website, I'll add it in the link below. It is a real course I'm putting together and should be released in the next week or two.
All right. So in light of what you have been looking here, do you think we can leverage AI to create jobs for ourselves? You just nod your head. So tell me one other way that you can use AI, satellite, and space to create a job for yourself. Think about it. Remember what the theme is? Let's go back to the theme. No, you don't have to move it. The theme is ingesting innovation into the roots of Jamaican society, utilizing space, satellites, and AI. That's the theme. So, how are you going to use those three technologies? First, look what they can do. Then, remember, when you're doing innovation and when you're thinking about innovation, you don't have to build it from scratch. You don't have to build it from scratch. But you can also build on what someone else has done. Because then you would innovate. You create. Building on what someone else has done would have allowed you to do what? Create. Now you need to tell me what you think about.
Good afternoon. So using AI, space, and satellite technology, right? Yes. Perfect. I was thinking more of a logistics approach, since as the information that you get from satellite is normally statistical in nature, could more than likely become a person into logistics where you have a job of investigating deforestation in a certain place, can use the satellite imagery that has already been gathered by Google and all these big tech companies over the years, use AI to help you navigate through the information gathered by the satellite. Obviously, some sort of intelligence is needed to process, let's say, the topographical data that you get from a satellite, because it's not only imagery, they also get like the contour of the place. So there's also that you can use intangent with the images, because sometimes during like dry seasons, it's hard to tell whether they are trees, especially with like satellites, because they have a minimum scale right now of 120 meters. So using the topographical data plus AI to analyze and be able to tell the difference between a rump and a dry tree would be helpful. So that could be a job, yeah.
Give him a round of applause. So you see that? So do you believe he has just innovated? Lord of mercy. I'm not hearing over here, sir. Hold on. Do you guys over here believe he has just innovated? I can't hear. What was that? Yes. Thank you so very much. So yes, he would have just innovated. And we have a token for you. Afterwards? All right, no issue. I'm going to wrap up quickly. Now, so how else do we use AI? So AI can be used to reduce costs for new and upcoming business, enhance product visualization, retarget customers, automate inventory. So once you have AI, we can use AI to, instead of hiring someone for a receptionist, you can have an AI do it. And then, guess what? You train up your receptionist to do something else. Right? Not just to answer the phone. But the AI can do that. Right? And we're here using the base, which is AI, to make life easier. So AI, artificial intelligence, is a branch of computing science that focuses on creating systems capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence, right? So its advantage, it can make decisions in a split second, optimize traffic signal timing, it can detect accidents, it can minimize stop-and-go traffic lights, and most importantly, AI traffic management can improve overall mobility in cities, making transportation more accessible for all.
Annoying nuisances of the modern world is heading out for something important and then getting stuck in a traffic jam. However, if you're proactive and plan your journey well ahead of time, situations involving those infuriating traffic jams can, in fact, be avoided. There are a number of tools that can provide a general idea about traffic conditions in a certain area. Even some radio stations periodically broadcast important traffic updates throughout the day. However, the web-based application that's by far the most popular among all the traffic update tools and services is Google Maps, a smartphone application designed by Google. If you have a smartphone and travel frequently, it's almost impossible that you haven't used Google Maps. It's an amazingly powerful app that not only acts as a standard GPS device and directs you places, but also gives you recommendations regarding the quickest routes to reach your chosen destinations. Google Maps uses a very smart algorithm to provide real-time updates about traffic conditions and even makes relevant traffic predictions. The initial versions of Google Maps relied only on data from traffic sensors and cameras that were installed by government transportation agencies and certain private companies that compiled traffic data for various purposes. These sensors used laser radar or active infrared technology that could detect how fast the overall traffic was moving by observing the general size and speed of automobiles. Initially, Google would obtain this information and then embed it in maps for people to use. However, that method of determining traffic conditions has become obsolete today. Google Maps now uses a more sophisticated, reliable, and rather brilliant technique known as crowdsourcing to run the app and feed its users the most recent traffic updates on the go. Crowdsourcing is a fascinating model to collect information on any subject, whether that is traffic conditions, reviews about products, or even memes. It's a sourcing model where an organization obtains services or goods from a large number of people, typically via the internet. For instance, the famous ice cream company Ben & Jerry's conducted a crowdsourcing contest to come up with a new ice cream flavor. Participants were supposed to submit their flavor idea, and in return, they would get a prize. Since 2009, Google Maps has utilized crowdsourcing to enhance the accuracy of its traffic updates and predictions. If you use your smartphone to navigate to different places in a city, then you already know that in order to use the navigation feature in Google Maps, you need to keep your phone's GPS turned on. In simpler terms, if you want to know about traffic conditions in real time, you need to keep your phone's location turned on. When you're driving and your phone's location is turned on, it sends bits of data anonymously to Google Maps. In this way, Google learns how fast your device, and by extension your car, is moving. The same is true for other cars on the road. Their phones are also sending bits of data to the Google database. The app constantly combines this massive amount of data coming from all the cars on the road, processes it, and then sends it back to the same phones in the form of real-time traffic updates. In other words, it's your phone and the phones of your fellow drivers that feed Google Maps with the data it needs to provide live traffic updates. The interesting thing about this technique is that if you don't want Google to gather location data from your phone, you can always opt out of the service by simply toggling your phone's location to off. However, if you do that, you also won't be able to view live traffic updates in Google Maps. Pretty smart, don't you think? All in all, Google Maps is an incredibly useful and intelligent app that not only takes you places, but also helps ensure that you don't spend half your life stuck in traffic jams.
Hello? Okay, so guess what? You will hear on the radio where Norma will say, oh, I'm in Mullines Road and the traffic is moving slowly. But you have other countries that have utilized Google Maps to create real-time traffic information. Similarly, that can be of use within Jamaica in that we can have our students creating a traffic app which utilizes Google Maps. So unlike Google Maps, where when you use it, it will give you a direction and tell you turn right, when it is you leverage Google Maps and you have this app, it will speak to you. So it will say you have traffic. Remember, it's now getting information real time across different areas of the country. And it will tell you if you're going to, depending on where you're going, it will speak to you and say, what's the best route to drive if the traffic is slowing down. So it won't just say, turn left, turn right. You have reached your destination. It will say, if you go on Mandeville, I don't even know the streets down here, but should you go on one of those nice streets down here, where it's cool, you have a lot of traffic, right? So this is how, or some ways in which you can utilize AI, satellite, and space to have technology. Thank you for having me.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We have had a very long day, inspiring day, motivating day, I hope. There's been so much going on from the hackathon competition this morning, as well as the presenters just now. And I want to say a hearty thank you to our presenters, Miss Campbell and Mrs. Adderley. Thank you so much. And we'll have you come up and have your gift be presented to you. So thanks to Ms. Dominique Campbell from AAJ. She's from the Astronomical Association of Jamaica. Thank you for coming through. And they also have their booth afterwards. Please go and look at the booth and get some more information about that society here in Jamaica, the one of its kind, first of its kind. Next, we have Mrs. Adderley, who is from the IEEE Association. IEEE is a worldwide organization, and we're looking to have a branch here on campus, so this is super important, and we're very thankful to Ms. Adderley for being here. Thank you so much. And last but not least, I must give my thanks to everyone here that has participated from morning until now, and of course, our host, Dr. Claire Nelson. She is the spearhead of Caribbean Space Society as well as the Caribbean Space Advocates Club. So without her, this would not be, and we want to say thank you so much, Dr. Nelson, for coming in and being the host here at Northern Caribbean University for our Space Hackathon and Knowledge Fair. Thank you so much. And before I wrap up, I must say thank you, very big thank you, to the exec team of the Space Advocates Club. They did amazing. We were working all along, and I want to give a special thanks to Dustin. He went above and beyond. He does not expect this right now, but he went above and beyond, the only male holding it down, and you're really a powerhouse for us. So we want to say a super thank you to him, and thank you to everyone for coming out.
Good evening, everybody. I know you all are tired, but let's pray and gain some energy. Could you bow your heads for prayer, please? Could you stand, please? Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, as we come to the close of this Space Fair and Hackathon, we are grateful for the opportunities we have had to explore the wonders of your creation and innovation of human ingenuity. Thank you for the minds and talents you have blessed us with today. Help us to use these tools for the betterment of humanity and the stewardship of your creation. May the connections we have made and the ideas we have shared today continue to inspire us long after this event. May your light shine through us as we seek to bring your love and compassion to all we encounter. Amen. Thank you all for coming at this wonderful opportunity to share. I hope we can spare 5 minutes after we have closed for award ceremony and hackathon. We will now have the alma mater.
To the